Hello, and welcome to Out of Our Box. I'm Ricky, and I'm here with my co-host and good friend Aaron. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks, man. You?
Good, very good. Good to be back for another episode of
Yeah.
the podcast. And today we continue our chilling journey into the world of execution and torture methods, diving into part two of this unsettling yet fascinating topic. In part one of the episode, we discussed some notorious methods used throughout history, but today we'll delve even deeper into the grim realities faced by countless individuals through time. So, we shall get into our first one. It's in no order. Some torture methods that we thought was pretty gruesome.
Yeah, some of these are particularly gruesome.
Number one is a torture method that I've never heard of before until
No.
now. It is called Ling Chi. And Ling Chi, usually translated to slow slicing or death of a thousand cuts, was a form of torture and execution used in China around the 10th century until the early 20th century. It was also used in Vietnam and Korea. In this form of execution, a knife was used to remove portions of the body over an extended period of time, eventually resulting in death. So,
Yeah,
that's
that doesn't sound fun.
no, just that slight intro to this torture method is chilling already.
Yeah, I'd
And
never heard of Ling Chi, but I'd heard of Death of a Thousand Cuts, like the
yes,
expression.
yes, so have I. But I didn't know it actually come from a torture method.
No, yeah, I just thought it was a turn of phrase or
Yeah, but yes, Ling Chi was reserved for crimes such as treason. The process involved trying to condemn the prisoner to a wooden frame, usually in a public place. The flesh that was then cut from the body in multiple slices. The punishment worked on three levels: as public humiliation, as a slow and lingering death. So,
Hmm. Yeah, I don't fancy that.
yes, usually Ling Chi consisted of cuts to the arms, legs, and chest, leading to amputation of the limbs, followed by decapitation or a stab to the heart. In the Yuan dynasty, 100 cuts were inflicted to the victim, but by the Ming dynasty, there was a record. There were records of 3,000 incisions.
Jesus. It's like how deep are we talking?
I have no idea. Probably cut off bits of skin.
Yeah, it's described as a fast process lasting no longer than 4 to 5 minutes. So to do 3,000 cuts in 4 or 5 minutes.
Blimey.
Yeah.
In my mind, I thought it would last longer than that.
Yeah, so did I. But that's what it says under the variation of the Ming Dynasty.
Okay. I suppose 3,000 cuts, if you do that really quickly, you gotta. But then it says after that they decapitated them or stabbed them
Yeah.
through the heart
And
just to make sure.
it says some of them is like the coup de grace was all the more certain when the family could afford a bribe to have a stab through the heart inflicted first rather than the cuts before.
That's
So like
before.
you could pay for a quicker death, and then
Blimey, yes, it's not a fun experience at all. So it was in a public place. You basically tied up to a stake and you're cut 3,000 times. Then either your head chopped off or you stabbed through the heart.
yeah, that's insane.
That's the gist of it. Blimey. Yes, as I said, I've never heard of Ling Chi before. But if anyone listening has and they got some more knowledge on the subject, that would be good to hear. But yeah, let's go on to the next one. Our next one is another one I've never heard of. The name I've never heard of, but I'm sure I've maybe watched things and they've done it. And it is keel hauling. if I've said that right, which I'm pretty sure I have.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Keel hauling was a form of corporal punishment that was formerly practiced as a punishment in the Dutch and English navies, used as a way to punish members of the crew who were guilty of serious breaches of the ship's code and conduct. Keel hauling involved tying the hands of the crew member to a rope and hauling him under the keel of a ship, the keel being the bottom longest structural element of the boat. So I'm assuming it's like yeah, the like spine at the bottom of the
Yeah,
boat.
yeah.
That's the keel, and
Where the hole sort of splits in two.
that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're tied on either side of the boat and
Yeah, it
chucked.
says either from one side of the ship to the other, or from the length of the ship from bow to stern.
Oh, so yes, so the other way around as well,
Yeah.
and then just sailed through the ocean on the bottom of a
Yeah,
boat.
fuck that. On here as well, it says that is a form of punishment and potential execution. So maybe sometimes it was just done just to give you a little bit of a fucking warning.
Oh yeah,
Like,
first time.
yeah, yeah. It's like they do it for like 2 minutes and then like yeah, do it again. You're going the whole way.
You got the proper troublemakers on the boat and they've been keel hauled like 20
Yeah.
times.
Keyhauling may have been introduced to the Dutch Navy by William of Orange on the 11th of October 1652 under Jan van Riebeck's command. Jan Blank, a sailor, was keel-hauled and whipped a total of 150 lashes and then enslaved for 2 years as a punishment for deserting.
No, I mean,
So not only was he dragged along the boat and then he got 150 lashes as well.
God, yeah, that must be horrible on the bottom of the boat. And obviously, I'm sure a lot drown. You have to.
Yeah,
Is it? Because I'm thinking of it, yeah, right on the bottom of a boat, or maybe on the front as the boat goes up and
yeah,
down, and
crashing
it's
into the waves.
crashing into the waves. That can't be fun either. Not good, but yeah, simple. I think like a simple but very effective way.
Yeah. Apparently, there's a painting as well. It's like it was an official punishment in the Dutch Navy, and it happened to someone called Cornelius Evertson the Youngest in 1673, and they made a painting of it.
Okay.
Is it in the painting? It shows the keel hauling of the ship's surgeon, and then this shows a large crowd gathered to watch the event as though it was a show of punishment intended to frighten other potential offenders.
Well, I think it would do that. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. If I see that happen, I don't think I'd be wanting
Yeah,
to
don't play up.
do
It must be horrible. I think drowning is a lot of people's sort
it.
of
Yeah,
fear
worst
under
fear.
yeah under the water, and that's got to be one of the worst but simple
Yeah,
torture methods. Kill hauling. Next, we have Roman candles,
not
which
the fireworks.
yes, I was going to say which I have heard before. I thought it's definitely not fireworks. Roman candles were and still are considered one of the worst and slowest execution methods. In July 64 AD, and under the rule of Roman Emperor Nero, the Great Fire of Rome raged for 9 days and destroyed two-thirds of the imperial city. Emperor Nero was keen to find the fault and ultimately blamed religious minorities, in particular the Christian community.
Yeah.
Although unclear if the inferno was started by Christian groups, it was thought that their response to fighting the blaze led to the destruction on such a mass scale. So Roman Emperor Nero imprisoned Christians and tried to convince them into shunning their faith. Prisoners were tied to a wooden stake for interrogation, while those rejecting the chance to turn their backs on Jesus Christ suffered a gruesome and macabre fate. Nero punished devoted Christians by tying them to a stake and coating their strong bodies in pitch, oil, and wax before lighting their feet and using them as human candles, whilst lit in such a way to prolong torture and pain. Um,
Yeah.
it's not good. Even more, the Roman candles were used to light formal parties within within the imperial gardens.
I read that as well. I was like, I couldn't believe it. Imagine
El-
that turning up to a party and there's just someone on fire.
Elite guests of those private gatherings would seek entertainment from the suffering, whilst candles also gave decoration and torchlit, which they considered desirable. So not only was you being tortured,
Yeah,
you were used to light these these
yeah.
imperial whoever they were their parties.
People sparking their cigarettes off of
Yeah,
them.
yeah. You just so you lit from your feet and you just are a human candle
Yeah.
for I don't know hours, don't know
I
how
mean, it
long,
would take quite a long time, you'd think.
bloody long time.
Yeah,
Yeah, like lit from your feet and just all the wax obviously heats up over you and
yeah.
um
You just melt.
yeah, I'm not 100% sure what pitch is, but obviously you've got
Yeah.
oil and wax. Pitch, I'm not too sure, if I'm
Pitch
being honest.
oil. I'm
Yeah,
assuming
it
it's
just
some
says
sort of
pitch.
mixture.
Yeah, it's a combination of pitch, oil, and wax.
Mm.
So yeah, not 100% sure, but still being used as a human candle is not great.
Yeah. This is also depicted in a painting as well, which seems to be quite popular for these torture methods. So apparently there's a famous painting called Nero's Tortures, depicts a scene where Christian martyrs accused of being responsible for the Great Fire of Rome are about to be burned alive. These
Blimey.
candles further represent the first persecutions against Christians under Roman sovereignty.
So, so there was a fire that went all the way through the Roman Emperor or Empire or whatever you want to call it at that time. It's the Empire, but I don't know how big the fire. To be honest, I've never really heard of there being a fire in Rome. Like if there was a great
I have heard
fire,
of it, and I've
I
heard
haven't
of
heard of.
Nero.
I've heard of Nero, definitely heard of him, but the subject of the fire I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
But the the fire went through, and the first people we blamed right then and
Yeah,
there
get the
was
Christians and
must
fucking
have been
light them on
Christian.
fire.
And then you turn them into human candles, which
Yeah.
or Roman candles, which we now. So does that any have any? It must have some bearing on the firework. Surely
Yeah,
it is
there's got to be a reason why the name's corroborated, like because they're sort of cylindrical in shape, and they long, and
true.
then fire from the bottom up.
Like a yeah, like a stack up, yeah, fire from the bottom up, which is a yeah, it's crazy. That's a
Yeah,
crazy way to meet your end, and it was for Nero to come up with that as well. It's pretty inventive, but
yeah,
it
really gruesome.
is really gruesome. But yes, the Roman candle, and next we have something called the Spanish donkey, which is quite a funny name. The Spanish donkey was an extremely painful and horrific medieval torture device. It was first used by the Holy Inquisition in France and then in Spain and Germany. And then it migrated to the Americas, gained prominence there during the colonial period. The principal design was the same wherever it was used. A triangular wooden box with a very sharp top end. The appliance was constructed of wood with planks nailed together to form an elongated sharp ridge, which would serve as the horse's back. So it's like two planks
Yeah,
put together like a rooftop, like a pointy
yeah,
rooftop.
like a prism.
Yes, this was supported by four leg fixings, some 6 or 7 feet tall, with wheels fitted to the bottom of the legs so the entire device could be rolled across the floor or ground. A head and tail would be attached to make the torture device look almost fun and like a wooden horse. But it wasn't fun, I could assure you. Well, I
No.
can't assure you. I've never I'm
Yeah.
reading it. I can assure you what's coming next. Um, the offender would be mounted upon the horse with chains applied to the victim's or the prisoner's full weight, and that weight would be put on to their vulva or pelvis. Ankle weights were added to either side to make the skin tear apart. Severe pain would be caused to the victim in their crutch and bottom area.
Ooh.
But if the punishment was intended to be even more brutal, the victim would be split into two halves. This made the wooden horse one of the most brutal torture devices throughout history. So
Yeah.
you had that shape of the prism or whatever you want to call it, the rooftop like,
Yeah.
and you would get put on it with either your men with their groin, women with their vulva, which is part of their lady anatomy, and and your body weight would push down on it, and then they'd put basically weights on your feet to weigh you down, and you would split slowly from your pelvis.
Yeah, he's essentially just getting pulled in half.
Yes, you are from the bottom.
Yeah. Fuck that.
Yes, it's not great. That's brutal. Again, simple but brutal.
Mate, after making its way into America, it was still used in the American Civil War period. It was also a torture device favored by early Jesuits. Even one of the US's founding fathers, Paul Revere, has been documented as using this torture device. The Spanish Army's frequent use of the device was also documented into the 1800s.
Bloody
So
hell.
that's not even that long
It's
ago.
not in the grand scheme of things. It isn't. Yeah, it's brutal and effective. It must be. And
Yeah.
yeah, that must inflict it. It must take a very long time. Well, I suppose it takes a long time depending on how much weight they put on your ankles.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's just going to force it through quicker, isn't
Yeah. So obviously your body weight will only go so far, so they put more weight in your ankles for you to tear apart from the underside.
it?
Which is
Yeah.
oh, just
Brutal.
just just put your own body weight on your groin
Yeah.
would would
With no
hurt enough.
support.
Everyone's had groin strain if they played sports or even run or done anything before, but just oh yeah, just and then tearing apart.
Yeah. No,
Ouch.
thank.
No, thank you. And yes, that is the Spanish donkey. Right. Our last one for today is empowerment, which I think is quite known throughout the world. I think
Yeah.
everyone sort of knows empowerment, but there are some things in there that I learned I didn't know. Empowerment as a method of execution and also torture is the penetration of a human by an object such as a stake, pole, spear, or hook, often by complete or partial perforation of the torso. It was used particularly in response to crimes against the state and regarded across a number of cultures as a very harsh form of punishment and recorded in myth and art. References to empowerment go back to Babylonia and Neo-Assyrian Empire and found as early as 18th century BC, which is a bloody long time ago. That's
Yeah.
all I can say. But yeah, so empowerment has been used for for it. Well, for as long as we know of civilizations, really. Babylonia, that was
Yeah.
yeah, very a long time ago in the Middle East. But yes, impaling an individual along the body length has been documented in several cases, and the merchant Jean de Thevernot provides an eyewitness account of this 17th century Egypt in the case of a man condemned to death. So yeah, there was not was an account from 17th century Egypt, which is pretty cool. Um,
Yeah.
and that description was they lay the malefactor upon his belly with his hands tied behind his back. Then they slit up his fundament with a razor. Yes, fundament is your buttocks or bum cheek.
Oh,
For anyone who didn't know that saying, like me, I didn't
yeah, I'd
know.
never heard that
No,
before.
I didn't know it before. But yes, apparently your fundament, yeah, is your bum cheek. So yes, they slit up your bum cheek and throw into it a handful of paste that they have in readiness, which immediately stops the blood, which is interesting. Wonder what's in that paste. Stops
Mm.
the blood. After that, they thrust up into his body a very long stake, as big as a man's arm. Sharp.
Jesus.
Yes, sharp at the point and tapered, which they grease a little before it goes in. They grease it up.
Yeah,
When they have driven it in with a mallet till it comes out of his breast or at his head or shoulder, they lift him up and plant the stake very straight into the ground, upon which they leave him so exposed for the rest of the day. Yes. That's not great, is it?
no, that's some brutal stuff.
Yeah, man. The length of time which one managed to survive upon the stake is reported as quite varied, from a few seconds or minutes to a few hours or even days. The Dutch overlords of Batavia seem to have been particularly prolific in prolonging the lifetime of impaled. One witness, a man surviving for 6 days on a stake.
That's crazy.
Yeah, um, it is crazy. Another hearing from a local surgeons that some could survive 8 days or more. So yes, 8 days.
Stuck like that.
Stuck like that with a stake driven into your buttocks, coming out of somewhere else, and
Yeah,
you're put into the ground. Um, the critical determination for survival length seems to be precisely how the stake was inserted. If it went through the interior parts, vital organs could easily be damaged, leading to a swift death. However, by letting the stake flow through the spine, the impalement procedure would not damage the vital organs, and the person could survive for several days. So it doesn't always go for your vital organs. You could go through your straight up your spine, like
yeah.
your
So
back,
that's
straight.
obviously how you end up staying on for days because like you're not hitting any major organs.
Yeah,
You just have to worry about the bleeding, I guess.
yeah. So, but I think it's like when you get stabbed with a not knife, but if people get stabbed with a knife or something, it's to die from it being pulled out,
Being
don't
pulled
they?
out. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So it put in and that just come out his shoulder. It's like yeah, it just or wherever it comes out from your back or shoulder, and
yeah,
yeah, it's gonna. I suppose if you put it out, you die very quickly from loss of
yeah.
blood. But if it's just stuck in there, you
You're
just
obviously tearing as it comes back out, and then there's nothing to stop the blood from coming out. Then if there's nothing in the wound.
I knew about empowerment, but yes, that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, there's obviously one very famous person known for impaling Vlad the
There
Impaler.
is. who,
Romanian hero.
who liked impaling the Turkish,
Yeah.
I believe the Ottomans, if it was the
Yeah.
Ottomans. Yeah, Vlad the Impaler. They were some of the worst torture devices that has been through history. And
Yeah, they're a particularly bad one.
yeah, they were particularly bad ones. These execution and torture methods are quite fun. It's a fun podcast to do because you get to learn some crazy stuff about how people through history have condemned others to death or torture. Which is, but
Yeah.
yeah, and I suppose it is the 21st century, and we've learnt a bit, but I don't know how much.
Yeah,
We'll do maybe an episode 3 at some point in the future because it's fun. And yeah, cool. We'll on to the next one, I suppose.
yeah. Until next time.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
See.